Please rise for the academic session and the Chancellor.
I declare that the 533rd Convocation of McMaster University for the conferring of degrees is now in session.
Please be seated. Good morning. I am David Wilkinson, Provost and Vice President Academic of the University. This morning I have the great pleasure of acting as your Master of Ceremonies and of welcoming you all to this Convocation ceremony. Before we start our formal program, may I first ask everyone in the hall to switch off any electronic device that may ring or beep during the ceremony. I would now like to call upon our Chancellor, Dr. Suzanne Labarge, to make her own welcoming remarks.
Welcome, honored guests, staff, faculty, families, friends, and most importantly, graduands. This is an exciting day for all of you who are graduating today, as well as for all those people who have supported you and stood behind you, and in many cases have had a key role in your being here today. You have achieved a great deal to get here, and you should all be very proud of your success and looking forward to what the future might bring. Congratulations and enjoy the ceremony.
I would now like to introduce Dr. Patrick Dean, President and Vice Chancellor, who will be presenting the honorary degree recipient.
Madam Chancellor, by the authority of the Senate of McMaster University, I have the honour to present Richard Sennett. Richard Sennett is a prolific social theorist, historian, and ethnographer whose work explores and reveals the ways individuals and groups make social and cultural sense of their contexts, specifically the contexts created by the work they do and the cities in which they live. He is the Centennial Professor of Sociology at the London School of Economics and University Professor of the Humanities at New York University, where he was also the founding director of the New York Institute for the Humanities. Dr. Sennett is a graduate of the Juilliard School of Music, the University of Chicago, and Harvard University, whose reputation as an urbanist took shape during his time as a fellow of the Joint Center for Urban Studies of Harvard and the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. His scholarly writing centers on the development of cities, the nature of work in modern society, and the sociology of culture. Families Against the City, his earliest book, examines the relation between family and work in 19th century Chicago. A subsequent quartet of books explores different facets of urban life: the uses of disorder, an essay about identity formation in cities; the fall of public man, a history of public culture and public space; the conscience of the eye, a study of how Renaissance urban design passed into modern city planning; and Flesh and Stone, which focuses on bodily experience and the design of cities. In books like The Hidden Injuries of Class, a study of class consciousness among working-class families in Boston, Dr. Sennett explores the other main thread of his scholarship: work. His approach to this subject, as with urbanism, involves multiple studies providing a spectrum of perspectives on the key issues. He explores new forms of work in the corrosion of character, work and welfare in respect in an age of inequality, and assembles an overview of these issues in The Culture of the New Capitalism. His most recent thematic series of books explores material ways of making culture. The growing series includes The Craftsman, along with Together, The Rituals, Pleasures, and Politics of Cooperation. Dr. Sennett has been a fellow of the Center for Advanced Study in the Behavioral Sciences and is a fellow of the American Academy of Arts and Sciences and the Royal Society of Literature. He chaired a United Nations Commission on Urban Development and Design, and as president of the American Council on Work, he led a forum for researchers trying to understand the changing patterns of American labor. Most recently, he helped create and has chaired the Cities program at the London School of Economics. In 2006, he served as chair of the jury of the Venice Biennale. The author of 3 novels, The Frog Who Dared to Croak, An Evening of Brahms, and Palais Royal, Dr. Sennett has received the Hegel Prize, awarded by the German city of Stuttgart, the Spinoza Prize, and the Gerda Henkel Prize. He also has an honorary degree from the University of Cambridge. Madam Chancellor, Richard Sennett's distinctive, multifaceted scholarly exploration of some of the key issues shaping contemporary culture has helped us understand our world and specifically our place in it. He has also brought together academics, politicians, journalists, artists, diplomats, and other professionals in the lively pursuit of that understanding. For these accomplishments, I ask that you confer upon Dr. Sennett the degree Doctor of Laws, honoris causa.
Richard Sennett, by the authority of McMaster University Senate, I have the great pleasure to confer upon you the degree Doctor of Laws, honoris causa, in McMaster University, with all the rights and privileges pertaining to that degree. Congratulations. I'm going to get you to sign.
Thank you. My terrible signature.
I would now like to invite Dr. Sennett to deliver the Convocation address.
Well, first of all, let me say that I'm so grateful to you for bestowing this honor on me today. It draws me nearer to Canada country I've always admired, and if things had worked out a little differently in my life, I would have moved here 20 years ago, so I'm having a little regret. You've kindly honored me for work I've done in the past, but although I can just see the Grim Reaper on the distant horizon, I'm ever more involved in my studies and writing, and this is because the world is involved in really a double revolution that's taking place today, and I want to be around to see how it turns out. This is a time when the world has urbanized, as you all know. 2 years ago, rough estimates said that more than half the people in the world live in cities. And these cities to which people are moving are really unlike the cities we know in the past. To give you an example, London, a century ago, was the world's biggest city, and it was 5.9 million people. Our best estimate is there are 35 million people in Mexico City, and something like the same in Mumbai. It takes, as I recently found in trying to drive across Mexico City, all day. You start in the morning and you leave the other end of the city when the sun is starting to go down. Cities that dwarf the imagination we have of places like Toronto or Berlin or Paris. We don't know what it means to live in cities on this scale, and particularly what it means for people to come into them so rapidly and in such density. You know, if those 35 million people in Mexico City were spread out as the same density of Toronto, the city would be about 130 miles across. But you're getting masses of numbers of people packed together rapidly in one place. This is also the time when the world's political economy is being rapidly transformed. Again, another cliche, by new technologies, high finance, and global markets. When I started studying this transformation, I thought that this applied only to the smallest kind of elite slice of the population, people who did computer programming in Silicon Valley, or who wangled and dealt with cash, high finance in the City of London and in Wall Street. But now we know that these changes, which have begun in the 90s, have affected almost all spheres of labor. That what's called FIRE, which is high finance, insurance, creative industries, real estate, that the pursuit of these activities is really driving the global economy. Even if you're a cleaner in Wall Street, your fortunes depend not on the labor market, but on a capital market. And this is one reason that what we're seeing that marks this phase of development, economic development, off from the past, is, again, a very rapid and intensive shift from manufacturing to services driven by finance. Now, what connects these two revolutions? A third cliche, inequality. And, it's true of cliches that sometimes they are cliches because they're true. And In this case, as cities grow in Latin America, Asia, and Africa, they're becoming, as you can imagine, more polarized in terms of extremes of poverty and wealth. Something that when researchers like me began to chart this urban growth, we didn't expect at all. We thought they'd be mostly poor. But in fact, by measures like the Gini coefficient, which is a rather dubious but commonly used measure of inequality, the fastest growth in the Gini coefficient is in places like Mumbai, Shanghai, Sao Paulo. That is to say that they are places in which massive numbers of poor people are coming in, but also which are generating enormous sources of wealth thanks to the other transformation from which that wealthy slice in the developing world is profiting. For us in the West, inequality is something that is a little more complicated. The numbers of poor people are not increasing in large numbers. The numbers of wealthy people are very minute. Although the 1% owns a lot, it is 1%. The big story here is the stagnation of the middle class. And that's something that sets off our experience of the new economy from people in the developing world, and also poses a problem for the ways in which these extremes can be moderated. You know what I'm talking about. It's more and more difficult to find places to live, even in Canada, which is not so scarred by this dual revolution as American or British cities are. But you're still beginning to feel its effects, as you will undoubtedly discover when you try to buy your first flat or look for a job which thousands of people are also looking for. So, three cliches, but three realities. And the question is, that is, urban growth, the transformation of modern capitalism, and the connection between the two in terms of inequality. And it poses a question about whether this dual revolution is sustainable. And particularly for us in Western cities, can anything be done about the lethargic fortunes of the middle class, which is, it may seem odd to think that this is a more important problem than poverty in Western cities. I don't say it is, but I say it's a kind of problem for which we don't really have very good solutions. If we have the will, we know what we can do about poverty. But even if you want to do something to increase the fortunes of the middle class, what can you do? At a commencement, it's traditional to tell you that the world is your oyster, or that anything is possible if you strive hard enough, and so on. And I have too much respect for your intelligence to repeat these lies. But I do think something can be done. And that is because no supreme being has decreed that the economy has to be the way it currently is. In fact, this is a dysfunctional economy for the vast majority of people. Equality makes it dysfunctional and extremely volatile, because the wealth that's generated at the top is not stabilized wealth. It's short-term, very short term in some cases. And it's a wealth which is continually being undone as well as done. Nobody has decreed things need to be this way. The same is true in cities. Nobody has decreed that a city has to have 35 million people. You know, as the Chinese are themselves now waking up to, that there is a reasonable size for a city if only you want to make it. So rather than tell you anything is possible if you strive hard enough, I think that there are things that you will have to do to make this world livable. And in part they mean taming the effects of urban growth, but they mean a real attack on inequality, not in the form that somebody like Thomas Piketty recommends, which is through taxation, but through actually outlawing large swaths of economic activity. As I've gotten old, I've become very far left wing. I think, you know, certain forms of banking should be crimes. It's not that they should be curbed, they should be ended. And we can do that. Nothing is decreed that things have to be as they are. So my message is to you, I hope I live long to see you deal with this dual revolution, because you'll have to deal with it in some way, and I hope you deal with it well. Let me just conclude by thanking you again for this great honor you bestowed on me, arousing my Canadian nostalgia once again. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sennett, for your very thoughtful words. I think he's outlined very well the challenges of the world into which you go, but he also represents what can be done by one individual who wants to contribute to public policy and get the discussion going to try to solve the problems of today. We're disappointed that he didn't come to Canada 20 years ago, and I'm delighted that we could at least tie him a little closer to us by including him in the McMaster community. So welcome, Dr. Sennett.
Dr. Patrick Dean will now come forward to present the graduands to our Chancellor for admission to their degrees.
Will the graduands please stand? Madam Chancellor, on behalf of McMaster University Senate, I present to you these candidates in order that you may confer the appropriate degrees upon them, and I bear witness that they are worthy and suitable. May I also request that you confer the appropriate degrees in absentia upon all those candidates who have successfully completed the required course of study, but who are not present.
Graduands, by my authority and that of the McMaster University Senate, I have the great pleasure to admit those before me today and those in absentia to their individual degrees in McMaster University, with all the rights and privileges pertaining to those degrees. My sincere congratulations to you all. Please be seated.
Graduates, I now ask each of you to join me on stage so that the Chancellor and I may welcome you to the McMaster community of scholars.
ladies and gentlemen, so that each graduate's name may be heard, it would be appreciated if during the presentation of the graduands, you would hold your collective applause to the end of each degree category. Thank you. Madam Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduates of the degree Doctor of Philosophy. Laura O'Neill. Jillian Louise Anderson. Lindsay DeClue. Christina DeRoche. And Arthur McLuhan. Madam Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduates of the degree Master of Social Work. Samantha Marie Belmore. And Gregory Paul Shoup.
Madam Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduates of the degree Bachelor of Arts Honours. Lana Abdul Rahman. Megan Elizabeth Acciaroli. Nadia Afrin. Sura Al-Muscati. Sarah Ali. Devon Dolby Barbara Andrews. Stephanie Jean Andrachuk. Sydney RDL. Michael Ayelu. Brett Stephen Barraclough. Jason Alexander Batic. Claire Elizabeth Boslaw. Sanjeet Bedi. Tanya Binswanger. Cassandra Lee Betcher. Dorothy Baruta. Hannah D. Bracohiapa. Danielle Shelley-Ann Burgess. Alicia Cahill. Christine Cassavetes. Julia Catalano. Elaine Chan. Iris Chan. Lindsay Megan Cheng. Robin Cole Shiborak. Shanice Tamara Christie. Callie Sorella. Edward Codrington. Stephanie Marie Colasso. Jenna Lee Copeland. James Ethan Cornelius. Julia Patricia Corrente. Carter Cousineau. Tori Alexandra Craig. Tara Elizabeth Chrysler. Shanice Darby. Carly Darna. Nicole Das. Julian Daniel Domeneghi. Erin Rivka Desso. Kristen Doyle. Samantha Eleanor Louise Dunbar. Christine Duong. Daniel Duragon. Brianne Ducereau. Mia Vizak. Kirsten Eaton. Sabine Deborah Edwards. Kareem El-Ziftawi. Nicole Patricia Elliott. Kayla Marie Ellis. Monique Nicole Ellis. Liesel Maluke Enero. Jeffrey Esteves. Taraneh Etamadi. Licia Evashko. Aaron Feutel. Hilda Firampong Sifa. Paz Fortier. Katarzyna Anna Gall. Maggie G. Josie Lee Gibson. Michelle Goldenberg. Latoya Raquel Grant. Ashley Grave. Amy Marie Green. Brittany Leah Hillia Green. Dominika Grodzinski. Alyssa Alexandra Gorachi. Stephen Gurgis. Shauna Kaylee Hall. Lama Hamdania. Jordan Hamilton. Nicole Harding. Megan Harkness. Elise Jennifer Harrington. Jamie Samantha Hassa. Akela Hassan Makund. Madeline Jane Gabrielle Hazelton. Jonathan Blake Higgins. Brandy Hoover. Jasmine Uber. Lindsay Hutchinson. Rebecca Ayano. Sonnet Irwin. Richard Anthony James. Nicole Annette Jarozauskas. Kelsey Johnson. Emily Rebecca Jones. Monica Kaminsky. Elena Marie Carriam. Christina Kartalianakis. Devinda Kaur. Krithika Keshavan. Stephanie Ann Q. Hillary Key. Warda Khan. Christina Kim. Jin Kim. Christina Kokorelius. Vanessa Maria Coote. Samantha Krasaniak. Joanna Kuziak. Brenda La. Emily Suzanne Therese Lalonde. Madison Lambert. Rebecca Lodge. Megan Ann Lawrence. Annie Lulmahan. Samantha Marilyn Lloyd. Jessica Loteman. Cassandra Lee Luders. Stephanie Patrice Leinstraw. Olivia Robin Grace Lyon. Robert W. McFarlane. Deanna Mai. Julia McKinley Main. Rachel Ellen Maislin. Hafsa Majid. Rabia Ahmed Malik. Alicia Ann Mancini. Sydney Marcotte. Mary Rashani Mariasalini. Diana Martinez. Brittany Massey. Danielle Laura McCallum. Ross McIntosh. Denite Meritab. Samantha Miller Ricci. Delmar Miller. Anthony Stephen Manelli. Neelam Mistry. Jamie Moore. Kelsey Bain Murray. Omabola Musiwa. Vanessa K. Namazi. Ariel Navarra. Rodrigue Juleka. Alexis Nazaro. Taline Sonia Noble. Nancy Amelia Orford. Joy Ortiz. Manreet Pabla. Sandra Faye Pacanaro. Athanasios Papapanagiotou. Jack Edward Park. Jessica Patrick. Erica Catherine Pedersen. Alicia Kimberly Perrin. Karina Marie Nicole Pietrantonio. Sophia Emilia Piro. Lauren Maressa Pucci. Samantha Randazzo. Catherine Rupach. Patricia Elizabeth Brazo. Dina Rezai. Letitia Sonia Rooms. Catherine Ringelberg. Candice Victoria Roberts. Thomas Craig Rausch. Donna Louise Elizabeth Russell. Ashley Elizabeth Sabarin. Wajiha Said. Armush Salahaddin. Kimberly Joan Saldenha. Andrew George Somilla. Sarah Sartaj. Christopher Schmidt. Christina Squazin. Farah Shaw. Seema Shaman. Victoria Ann Silva. Andrea Simmel. Samina Singh. Eric Scala. Daniel Edward Paul Smith. Katrina Michelle Smith. Owen Smith. Liliana Schnizek. Michael Sousa. Harshi Sritharan. Jamie Christian Stableforth. Rebecca Ashley Stones. Taryn Patricia Switanki. Jessica Zarenyi. Tamina Taraki. Alicia Taylor. Sarah Elizabeth Taylor. Samantha Elizabeth Terrio. Katie Thomas. Caitlin Thompson. Holly Thompson. Marissa Lynn Trousey. Tashana Lee Gale Troth. Ashley Sarah Ann Tucker. Corey James Tyler. Skylar Van Rossum. Joseph Peter Vanderkoy. Nina Vo. Jessica Laura Wainman. Emily Walsh. Kimberly Walton. Alexandra Maureen Walton-Ball. Carly Watt. Brooke Wilson. Ariel Wilson. Carolyn Louise Wong. Angela Wu. Zachary Zwart. Thank you.
Madam Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduates of the degree Bachelor of Arts and Bachelor of Social Work. Sarah Abarafi Ajicum. Zainab Ajmal. Vashti Atfield. Jamal Balika. Kayla Alexandra Barbie. Christina Catherine Bender. Marita Adriana Bocastein. Pamela Castelmazzano. Emily Ann Dakers. Samantha Estrella. Catherine Friedenberg. Tiffany Rose Garrett. Fiona Hisson. Kayla Jacobs. Rosalind Jane Kieft. Jane Victoria Kirk. Olivia Monique Lamel Joseph. Michelle Leon. Jennifer Da Silva Matos. Amber Lynn Palmer. Deanna Russ. Manpreet Singh, Sindhu Srikanthan, Mylin Tran, Carling Evans Wright, Madam Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduates of the degree Bachelor of Social Work. Kristen Bador, Haley Elizabeth Bulmer, Madeline Curran, Melanie Jane Dosser, Andra Liga Dezintas, Anne Jameson, Charlene Kang, Rajni Kaur, Tanya Medeiros, Donald Clive Panton, Lisa Persad, Annette Says,
Madam Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduates of the degree Bachelor of Arts. Trevor Ullman, Peggy Blessing Andam, Nicole Elizabeth Ankner, Sarah Baker, Nithani Bala Subramaniam, Hannah Bartha, Alicia Baxter, Taylor Ann Balawomani, Michelle Benincasa, Michelle Bissayon, Alisa Bohajcek, Clara Ann Callan, Corey Camaro, Alicia Marie Carter. Erna Kauzovic. Brittany Leanne Coulson. Erica Lee Crowder. Nadia Malisa da Silva Fiera. Victoria Alexandra Di Franco. Michael Di Croce. Mariah Dorian. Jordan Mackenzie Dowding. Michael Emanuele. Gia Escotto. Leah Elizabeth Fontaine. Shannon Melissa Fraser. Lisa Geik. Laurencia Anka Giorgio. Genevieve Gobind Singh. Siobhan Golding. Tyler Goldsworthy. Diana Alexandra Gigore. Casey Alana Hashimoto. Janelle Nicole Helder. Michael Ho. Michelle Hulbert. Dina Ibrahim. Zachary Ismail. Alice Januszewicz. Jessica Yesudasan. Lisa Johnston. Fiona Page Kerr. Andrew Kmet. Johnny Kwok. Andrew J. Lawler. Kelsey Leedale. Alexis LeMay. Adam Joseph Lipari. Suet Fun Cassandra Lowe. Tyler Loveday. Chun Lui. Brienne Gessin Luting. Katrina Lee Maggio. Kalamjeet Man. Yasmina Manojlovic. Sarah Marie McGregor. Tara Jill McGuinness. Tamara Marie Merla. Cassia Alexandra Micheli. Natalie Ann Mitchell. Shelby Sharon Ann Montour. Matthew Morehouse. Mark Daniel Maroz. James Murphy. Saneka Neal. Elisa Christina Nelson. Kerry Norris. Michelle Nuds. Benjamin David O'Connor. Jessica Marie Perro. Sofia Perugini. Theodore Alexander Peters. Laura Alana Petiti. Adrienne Politska. Clarence Jaconia Pong. Priyanka Prasad. Tanya Prasha. Kylie Piot. Abanna Rajakumar. Mary Elizabeth Rao. Ryan Rebello. Jacob Rice Bertini. Rochelle Angelique Robinson. Tiffany Rushing. Ishwadeep Sagu. Laura Schoffel. Catherine Seguin. Melissa Seichter. Angelica Natasha Simpson. Christina Tara Singh. Adrian Mirza Sprogis. Yushin Ayuhan Sufi. Kerry Leanne Thomas. Elaine Thompson. Sarah Thredder. Edith Ting. Ruth Mayombo Chikonde. Diana Veloce. Jesse Valchuk. Hui Wong. Lindsay Weeks. Hong San Wu. Jordan Young.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would now like to introduce Mr. Carter Williams from the Bachelor of Arts program, who will be delivering the valedictory address.
Graduates, faculty members, esteemed guests, families, and friends, my name is Carter Williams, and I'd like to welcome you all to the Spring 2014 Social Sciences Convocation. Before me today sits a very important group of people. We're the Faculty of Social Sciences. We chose our respective field of studies because we're curious both about individuals and about societies as a whole. We came to McMaster because we wanted to learn about the world so that maybe we could one day make it a better place. This journey has surely been a great one. In terms of personal growth, our years spent as undergraduates have been the most significant of our lives to date. It was here that we began to stand on our own 2 feet. It was here that we became independent thinkers. And it was here that we started to shape ourselves into the people we seek to become. Today, we are graduating into arguably one of the most difficult climates for educated youth that this country and the world has ever seen. Our post-industrialized economy has left Canadian industry bare and hollowed, leaving our generation to face a multitude of challenges. According to the most recent statistics, the youth unemployment rate is sitting around 14% in Ontario, 13% nationally. An estimated 1/3 of university and college graduates, aged 25 to 29, are working low-skilled jobs while they try to pay off their student debt. Globally, the youth unemployment trends reflect a very similar situation. Despite these challenges, I am optimistic for our generation, and even more so for us, the graduates of McMaster University's Faculty of Social Sciences. We are graduating from one of the top 100 institutions in the world. We are graduating from one of the leading research institutions in Canada. Getting to this point was no easy feat, so please, let's take a moment to recognize it for the great accomplishment that it is. We have built a unique skill set during our time as undergrads that few others our age can match. Studying the social sciences has given us impressive research skills. It has improved our ability to present our ideas in an effective manner. But most importantly, it has given us the tools we need to understand and assess the most pressing social problems of our times. We are highly trained critical thinkers, and we are well equipped to fight the headwinds that we are sailing into. Just think, we are actually so fortunate to be here today. Out of the 7 billion plus people that inhabit this earth, we are the lucky few that have been able to attend one of the top institutions in one of the planet's most highly educated countries. But with this privilege, I hope you all feel an innate sense of responsibility. If there is one thing we have learned as social science students, it is that this responsibility means looking beyond our own lives and even beyond our own borders. We are citizens of a global community. We must have a positive impact on our global society, and I believe that we can and we will accomplish this in our own unique way. I recently read an article in the Globe and Mail that reported the results of a survey asking current industry managers what they thought of our generation. The report concluded that our generation is forward-thinking, that our generation demands immediate satisfaction, and that our generation has little regard for conformity or hierarchical structure. And I would tend to agree with all these things. I think we are a generation strongly committed to progress. We do not fear change, we embrace it. We do not take things as given. We ask why, and we constantly challenge conventional thinking and doing. This particular mindset is what we need to reshape the world. We need to harness our fearless spirit to build creative, original, and innovative solutions to the immense problems we face today. We are the future of this country. We are the future leaders of the world. We have to believe that, for if not us, then who? So please, whatever your next steps in life are, make them meaningful. If you're going to travel, take care to try and understand the needs of the people you meet along the way, and continue to be observant of what works in the society and what causes friction. If you are going back to school, use your studies to complement the knowledge base you have built here at MAC and improve your capability to make a positive impact. If you are going into industry, work hard but never settle. Continue to challenge conventional ways of doing business and push our generation's progressive ideals up the chain of command. It is our time to begin to affect positive change on the world. I cannot wait to see what we can achieve as a group. Congratulations, class of 2014. We have accomplished much thus far, but our journey is just beginning. Thank you.
May I introduce Ms. Sandra Stevenson, President of the McMaster Alumni Association, who will now deliver the Alumni Association address.
Chancellor Labarge, President Dean, McMaster faculty, fellow alumni, honored guests, and members of the class of 2014. Yeah. As newly minted graduates, you probably remember your final exam quite clearly. You might even recall some of the facts and figures you studied that night. The only thing I remember about my last exam is how I felt walking away. I felt light. The obligations and responsibilities of my student years were done. And then I decided to extend the agony and head off to law school. But I really missed Mac. I realized that I had walked away from a network of relationships, locations, and routines that effectively defined my life. That was when I knew I wanted to connect with McMaster again. I would hope that for the vast majority of you, McMaster will continue to be a part of your lives, and the McMaster Alumni Association is here to help you make that happen. We can help you stay connected with friends and classmates, find opportunities for volunteering and philanthropy, and help you recapture the sense of community that is so much a part of the McMaster student experience. We also put the McMaster family to work in helping you achieve your future goals. The McMaster Alumni Association created a multifaceted MAC 10 Young Alumni program specifically to meet the needs of alumni like you. There are 4 programming streams in the MAC 10 program. MAC 10 Professional offers a year-round schedule of events and workshops to support alumni in job searches and alumni looking to progress in their careers. There's also MAC 10 Social for social events in Hamilton, Burlington, Toronto, and beyond, as well as MAC 10 Intellectual for informative continuing education events and activities. And finally, MAC 10 Giving builds on the social awareness that's such an important aspect of the McMaster student experience by providing you with opportunities for community service and continuing philanthropy. So, somewhere in those 4 streams, you'll find something for you. Accessing our alumni career coach or participating in job finding boot camp, you might participate in events and activities based around social justice, mentorship for entrepreneurs, classical music, days of service, movie nights, grad school prep, pottery classes, cooking events, canoe trips, and even golf lessons. And that's just our Young Alumni program. When you get a chance, visit our website, watch our mailbox for our alumni magazine, the McMaster Times, and read your Convocation booklet, which you received when you exited today. If you do, you'll find out what the family of more than 170,000 worldwide MAC alumni can do for you. And so, may I say, to the class of 2014, we celebrate your success as students and toast the promise of your futures as alumni. Your fellow MAC grads are proud to welcome you to the alumni family. Congratulations.
May I invite Dr. Dean back to the podium to deliver the President's address.
It's always a great honor to be able to say a few words at the conclusion of the ceremony before you all head out in the various directions that you're going to pursue in your lives after McMaster. It's an opportunity for me also to share some parting thoughts about issues that you should have in mind as you go out to do that. You've heard from this podium two important pieces of advice that I hope you will hold together. The one came from Dr. Sennett, and this was his observation that nothing is decreed. You all know, if you've read your Marx, if you've read your theories, you know that part of the reason social structures are able to perpetuate themselves is because they are made to seem inevitable and no alternatives can be posited. And you must not accept that, as you know. And the other was from Carter. And I thought he put it very well when he said, if all of you aren't going to forge change, if you aren't going to lead, who will? There is a huge responsibility that comes from having acquired the gifts and the skills and the knowledge that you've acquired over your degrees. And if you put those two things together, I too can be very optimistic for our future. Dr. Sennett also spoke about a double revolution. And it was very clear from what he said that some revolutions which seem good are often not necessarily positive for our society. And I want to talk about revolutions also, and in the same way observe that some have brought positive change and others are still waiting to occur. And I want to go back in time to April 1967 to begin. More or less the midpoint in the Vietnam War. And at Riverside Church in New York City, Martin Luther King Jr. spoke outlining the need for what he called a radical revolution in values. And this is what he said: "We must rapidly begin the shift from a thing-oriented society to a person-oriented society, when machines and computers, profit motives and property rights are considered more important than people. The giant triplets of racism, extreme materialism, and militarism are incapable of being conquered." Those are the words of Martin Luther King. So if you fast forward nearly a quarter of a century to 1989, with the Vietnam War over, yet countless new conflicts underway globally, and inequities, economic inequities, undiminished, or if anything, exacerbated. Bill McKibben, an author many of you will know, in a book called The End of Nature, drew attention to the ecological impact of our increasing orientation to things and our unprincipled embrace of the machine. And this assertion of human power he was later to identify, paradoxically, as evidence of our dehumanization, of our failure to make the shift towards what King characterized as a person-oriented society. And in his seventh book, which appeared in 2003, which had the title Enough, McKibben offered advice for staying human in an Engineered Age. That's the subtitle of the book, Enough, Staying Human in an Engineered Age. How are we to understand that last phrase, an engineered age? I don't think it's intended to disparage engineers and the work they do, but it is connected, certainly, to the way in which that work is sometimes viewed or used. But an engineered age I take to be McKibben's term for an era intoxicated with technology for its own sake, or one built on the assumption that human progress and technological advance are congruent, if not one and the same thing. That is to say that technology has self-evident inherent value. But perhaps more important is that I think it also refers to one aspect of our culture with roots very deep in the Industrial Revolution of the 18th and 19th centuries. The Industrial Revolution, economist Douglas Allen asserted recently, effected a fundamental shift in our human institutions, away from those regulated by social values, such as trust and custom, cooperation, towards a regime, a mechanistic regime built around measurement and the removal of randomness in outcomes. And whatever considerable good such a regime brought with it, it brought also danger. As life became more predictable, the potentially anarchic force of nature played a smaller and smaller role. It was steadily suppressed, this is Allen's assertion, to facilitate an outcome engineered in the sense that it was planned, controlled, and this is what I want to focus on, measurable. A colleague recently drew my attention to an amusing article in the New York Times. Under the title, The United States of Metrics, author Bruce Feiler explored our contemporary obsession with quantitative measurement. And as an indication that things have almost certainly gone too far, Feiler pointed to an app which you could, I'm sure, all acquire, although I'm definitely not recommending you get it for reasons that will become clear. Feiler pointed to this app called Spreadsheets, which uses body sensors, accelerometers, and smartphone microphones to monitor almost every quantifiable detail of its owner's sexual activity. Now, according to the developers of this thing, not for creepy purposes, but so that this information, for reasons that somewhat escape me, can be rolled up into a comprehensive database documenting sexual practice across the United States. We're awash in numbers, writes Feiler. Data is everywhere, and old-fashioned things like words are in retreat. Numbers are on the rise. Unquantifiable arenas like history, literature, religion, and the arts are receding from public life, replaced by technology, statistics, science, and math. Even the most elemental form of communication, says Feiler, the story, is being pushed aside by the list. If you participate in Facebook, for example, you will know that so much of what you do there has to do with the making of lists, the counting of numbers, the number of likes, the number of friends, and so on. So think about this app, Spreadsheets. What is the point of it? Will vast aggregations of data about human sexuality ever capture the story of attraction, love, and lust? And if not, the question is, where does the process lead us? What's the point of collecting all this data? Or to put it another way, what kind of knowledge will spreadsheets provide about sexuality, a profoundly human and in some ways ineffable instinct? It is, however, a good illustration that in some areas, numbers and a numbers-driven approach cannot tell the whole story. In fact, the point is they run the risk of misleading you with the wrong story. McKibben asserts quite reasonably that if we're to retain or to regain our humanity, the displacement of the social and the human by this impulse to list cannot continue indefinitely. That is the simple message of his book title, although there he's thinking of its application or its articulation through an infatuation with technology. That's the simple message of his book title, Enough. and it restates remotely in time and within a different complex of anxieties the same message of Martin Luther King about the need for a person-oriented society. At the heart of what McKibben has to say about staying human in an engineered age is our capacity, indeed it is our obligation, to choose what technologies shall be embraced and what shall be rejected, and to do so in accordance with values that strengthen rather than displace our humanity, that heighten our ability and our strengths as social human beings. It is imperative, in short, that humanity ultimately prevail over an accounting of reality through mere numbers. But as Bruce Feiler's article brought home to me, it's by no means certain that here in North America, in the second decade of the 21st century, we human beings know well enough what is good for us and what is good for enriching our humanity. If you go looking for wisdom on this matter, you have to go as far as someone like Albert Einstein. Einstein had this to say about measurement. Not everything that matters can be measured, and not everything that can be measured matters. But apparently, our culture has found this message about as difficult to assimilate as the mathematics of general relativity. There are many indications, however, and this is going back to Carter's point, that there is now a considerable force of momentum moving against this kind of approach, this kind of technocratic approach to society. Recently, and not for the first time, the Canadian Council of Chief Executives, which includes the CEOs of 150 major Canadian corporations, has seen fit to indicate that it is interested in employing educated, thoughtful human beings rather than technically expert list makers who hold the key to leadership and success. Interestingly, in a survey of members of that Council of Chief Executives, it showed that in evaluating prospective new hires today, corporations tend, this is a quote from the survey, to emphasize soft skills, also known as non-cognitive skills, over hard skills. I can't understand the sense of that phrase, non-cognitive, in referring to what are usually thought of as the range of soft skills, interpersonal skills, and so on. Whether that message has penetrated all the way through the companies led by the members of that organization is certainly questionable. And again, I remind you about what Carter had to say about youth unemployment and so on. But there's some confirmation anyway that at least a blend of hard and soft skills, the awareness and the understanding that comes from an education in the humanities and social sciences is beginning to be taken into account. Perhaps all of this amounts to evidence that some sort of desire to rehumanize the workplace is underway, a readmission of the noisiness of subjectivity, intuition, and custom. It was recently reported in the Wall Street Journal that at business schools in Great Britain and the United States, this is a quote from the article, the philosophy department is invading the MBA program. Students in business are being expected to read Plato, Marx, and Kant, to know why they're doing what they're doing, as one student says. There's a course even, I think, at the London Business School called Why Capitalism? I could go on. This process, which I suppose gives one some hope that there is a chance of rehumanizing, that there will be a tangible rehumanizing of institutions, economic, educational, and governmental, is certainly somewhat encouraging. Heartened though we should be by every indication that humanistic and social considerations, those unquantifiable arenas, are now being admitted to the calculus of productivity and innovation, there is a great danger in thinking that so long as students in business, medicine, and engineering are being required to take social sciences and humanities courses, we have taken up and properly discharged the challenge issued to us by Martin Luther King so long ago. The project which Dr. King opened and which Bill McKibben's writing reminds us still lies ahead is this: to reconsider the values which our society today seems to accept as obvious and unchangeable, and to ask, as the critic Judith Butler puts it, this is a quote from Butler, about the value of those values, whether they are comprehensive, what they facilitate, what they foreclose, what kind of world they establish, and what kind of world they destroy. What matters besides what can be measured? And what is the relationship of the quantifiable to the unquantifiable? Those of us who are products of a liberal education are used to pondering such questions for sure, and we can talk about them rather too readily. But we do not have a monopoly of wisdom on this subject. For that which makes us human is not only that which can't be quantified. While the ability to work with words, images, and music is an important, perhaps even a defining component of our humanity, it is nevertheless only a component. Those other things, what we do with numbers, what we build, what we do in the teeth of nature, in treating a disease, for example, all of this is intrinsic to our community and to our humanity. As graduates, you're all leaving the university with an education tilted to one side of that divide between the sciences and technology and mathematics, the humanities, and social sciences on the other. And that's as it should be. At each of these ceremonies this week, we have students going out into the world trained in different areas. The world needs highly specialized minds as well as broadly cultivated ones. It needs brilliant engineers as much as it needs gifted painters and writers. It needs astute business minds as much as it needs passionate social workers. And it needs, this is the important point, technology as much as it needs an ongoing critique of technology and the technocratic mind. But whichever way your background, temperament, educational and career choices have made you lean, my parting advice to you is to remember your humanity. To understand it as something not just there for your use, something to be expended in a life, but as something you have constantly to negotiate. There's a discussion you have to be part of about how we want to organize our world, how we need to partner with and understand each other, and what is our place in the physical universe. And the conduct of that discussion is not the exclusive preserve of the philosophy seminar, but it will engage every one of us, none more than you, trained in conducting a critique of our society, its assumptions, and its directions. I'll leave by inviting you to consider the evidence that we do indeed live in a dehumanized age and the urgency of attending to that. As you leave the hall, you might remember Bill McKibben's word that he gives you as a potential defense, the possibility of saying enough. And in the pause which follows that, ponder what role you would like to play, not only within the technical confines of your own discipline, but in the full and the glorious project of our shared humanity. And in that, my very best wishes go with you all.
Congratulations to the class of 2014. As a fellow McMaster alumna, I'm looking forward to seeing where you all go from here. Dr. Sennett, congratulations on your accomplishments, and again, welcome to the McMaster community. As Ms. Stevenson eloquently said, you are all now graduates and members of this wonderful group of alumni. And you know the value of community. When you came here, you came with the support of the small community you had of family and school friends. Here, you discovered a much broader and diverse community, but found that they too offered you friendship and support. As you go out from here, you'll discover there are even more people of whom you will form part of a community, and I would just suggest that you look at the broader McMaster alumni as part of that group. Dr. Dean, you've given us a lot to think about. And graduates, essentially, President Dean, Dr. Sennett, and Carter have given you a challenge as to where you want to fit in this far from perfect society that we're part of. And while their words resonate with all of us, it is appropriate that the challenge is yours. You're leaving here with the talent, the knowledge, the skills to make, and most importantly, the time to make a difference. The society in which you, us, and your children will be in 20 years will be very much affected by how you decide to use those talents for society. And I would really recommend that you take their words of wisdom with you as you leave. And my very best wishes to you all. I have a couple of housekeeping items to tell you about before we close. Immediately following the ceremony, a reception will be held for graduates and their guests in the Hamilton Convention Centre, Wentworth Rooms B and C. Flowers that have been delivered for graduates will be available at the coat check in the main lobby. I would ask that you please remain standing at your seats until the academic procession and the graduates have left the hall. Finally, please join now in the singing of our national anthem. After the singing of the anthem, this convocation stands adjourned.